Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. We're still following the Rosenbaum trial out of Georgia. They're taking a quick break in that courtroom live. So in the meantime, we want to take you back. This was a major piece of testimony when Millie, the older sister of the victim, took the stand, and it really shocked a lot of people that she did this. Let's listen. All right, so this is when we hear Millie, who was only 5 at the time of the incident and 7 years old now, say that she used to get spanked with Jennifer's hand as well as with a belt on her behind, and said that Joseph Rosenbaum did nothing during any of this to stop her. So, Kirk, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but she's incredibly poised during this. She's able to hold her own up there. She doesn't sound nervous. Is it typical to have someone this young on the stand?
Well, in my experience, she's incredibly poised for her age and to be on the stand. Even if you're just interviewing her, not in court, as a witness, you know, she would be, it's hard, you'd be hard pressed to find a child that's this poised. So it is something that is quite different. I felt that it presented a tremendous challenge for the defense, because it's certainly their job to impeach the credibility of a witness. However, don't want to do that to a 7-year-old and risk alienating the jury. And finally, the substance of her testimony was rather incredible. I mean, what justification is there, if this is true, for spanking a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old with a belt for not getting dressed fast enough, for sleeping in the car? So it was just really incredible testimony.
Gene, what do you think about Millie's testimony?
I think you have the proportionality problem here. If she did something really, really bad, both of them, you know, maybe you could chastise them verbally, but proportionally, to use a belt on both those children for not getting dressed properly, that corroborates, once again, that nurse who talked about basically the reckless disregard. They are not treating these kids with the care and attention that the law requires and demands.
All right, and we talked about how this is going to make it hard for the defense to question her because she is so young. They've got to be really delicate here. Let's listen to how they cross-examined Millie. All right, Kirk, so for what was said and how they cross-examined her, do you think, I don't want to say that she did a good job, but I mean, she really was, I'd say, effective with how careful she was with talking to the young child?
I think she was effective. However, if you compare, just from what we saw in this clip, if you compare the prosecution's direct and the defense attorney's cross, and the defense attorney is doing her job. It is her job to basically attack the credibility of a witness. However, if you compare the two, the affect and the tonality the prosecutor was using and giving Millie an opportunity to answer questions, and the direct was a little bit stronger. And like I said, this is the job of the defense attorney, but remember, the juries, they're people. So they don't know everything we're saying. They don't hear all this. They just see a 7-year-old child on the stand. And I think one of the worst things you can do as an attorney is alienate a jury. When it's ineffective, right, and they just see you as someone who beats up on a witness, they tend to react very negatively to that. So I'm not saying she was beating up on her, but she was a little direct with her.
And Gene, what about you? What do you think?
You know, Kirk, I'm going to mildly dissent. And the reason is, there but for the grace of God go I. I don't know what I would have done if I did a cross. I would have done a horrible cross. This is a horrible witness. Not a bad person, but it's a difficult witness to cross-examine. So I feel the defense attorney's pain. She's doing her best, and I think she should probably sit down and not spend a lot more time on cross-examination.
All right, well, speaking of cross-examination, the owner of the gym, Maria Matheson, who we saw earlier here, she's back right now on the stand being cross-examined. So let's go back to the live trial now. Okay, so we just listened to Maria Matheson for some time now. She was up there for a good amount of time talking a lot about the gym, the facilities in the gym, how the gym works, how it works with the classes, with the children. She spoke a lot about the ratio, the 7-to-1 ratio of how many students there are per coach. We even saw her go through videos and examples of the class and her point out each and every activity and training thing that these children do while they are in this gym. So it was very extensive. Kirk, what did you think of her as a witness? And, how is this either helping the prosecution or and not helping the defense?
Well, I thought she was a credible witness. My only concern is, is this a trial about the gymnastics school, or is it a trial about the death of this child? And that's always the risk, when you have a witness testifying so long and so many intricate details, and then obviously the defense is going to then, on their cross, certainly go through those details again because they have to. So, was the jury heard all day, right? They kind of forget who is on trial, so to speak.
Right. It got a little repetitive almost by having not only 3 people from the gymnastics gym, but then the back and forth with them several times. Gene, what did you think?
I think Kirk hit the nail on the head, and it goes back to what I said before. Stay focused. Don't overtry your case. This became sort of that shiny object that distracts from the core issue. Were the parents, especially Jennifer, the mother, were they reckless, and did they have depraved heart, deliberate ignorance? This is not about whether that academy is running its procedures properly. That's not what this trial is about. You don't need 3 witnesses to do that.
Right. All right, Gene, thanks. We're going to go back now live to that courtroom. We can see a new witness on the stand. Let's go. All right, so we've been listening to the newest witness here. This is Catherine Brown. She's a crime scene technician, and she, I guess, responded to the gym here, took some measurements, and started looking at what could have gone on at this gym. Kirk, what is her testimony for? Why are they bringing her in on this, and why the gym?
Well, the defendants have maintained that the children suffered injuries at the gym. So we had the coroner's report that showed these injuries occurred over the course of time, and the parents, basically their story was, or should I say their how they're relaying the facts, is that these children were injured at the gym and other various places. So naturally, you would send an investigator to the gym, take measurements, and determine what types of injuries can occur if someone fell from this beam or that beam or onto the mat and impacts and so forth. And she seems to be doing a nice job. I like the fact that she started off by explaining her role as a crime scene investigator, which is very different from what most folks think a crime scene investigator does, from what we see in popular media and TV and so forth. They're really 2 separate entities between the investigators and those who collect all types of forensic evidence and so forth and process it.
All right, Gene, we have about 30 seconds for you. Final thoughts on today's testimony with the Rosenbaum trial.
Well, I agree with Burke. I can't really add anything else to what he said. And what I liked about Sergeant Catherine Brown is she said twice at least, I'm not a detective. I'm a crime scene technician. So I don't go out and interview people. I just take measurements and I collect forensic data. I'm not a person who analyzes the number of witnesses or the character of witnesses, and I really like that.
All right, Gene Rossi, thanks so much, Law&Crime trial analyst, for joining us today. Kirk, you are going to stay on for the next segment of our show. I'm Angelica Spanos. Thanks for joining us today. Coming up next, we have Linda Kenny-Bodden, who will take over the show for me. Stay with us here on Law&Crime.